Hey pretties, it's Allison, and it's day 3 in a row of coffee chat. Okay, so I hope you guys are having a better morning than I am. This morning, 2 out of 3 of my dogs decided that it would be an awesome idea if they would just like go ahead and poop on the kitchen floor. So it's totally out of character for them. They never do anything like this. So I guess like the first one did it, and then the second one was like, oh, hey, that's an awesome idea. I don't have to go outside. I'm gonna go ahead and do that too. It's crazy. What are they thinking? So anyway, today's chat is coming out of questions from yesterday. So if you didn't watch yesterday's, I've been talking about ruts this week, what my warning signs are for whenever I'm starting to head into a rut, and also about my do good, feel good list, which is basically a list of things that I do when I'm starting to fall into a rut that help me get out of it. It's like a list of actions I can take. And I keep my list on my phone, and I encourage you guys to go ahead and do one. And we had lots of, again, good conversation, lots of great comments that came out of this. And one of them I kept seeing over and over again was one thing on my list was I like to read books. I'm an avid reader. I go through about like 2 books a month. Good morning, Lauren. So I wanted to share some of the books that have made an impact in my life. So some of them that have been life-changing, and also just a few that I've read recently that I've enjoyed a lot. But first off, we're going to talk about hair today, because every day I've been doing this, I've had like my messy bun going on, and today's is really messy. I'm going to show you what my natural hair looks like, because I washed it yesterday and just pulled it up when I was done. So this is what I deal with on a daily basis, okay? So my hair used to be naturally curly, but the older I get, it's like we've got curly pieces and we've got straight pieces. It's like super curly in the back, and it's all over the place. So today is hair washing day, and I'm gonna straighten it. I have to do that at least once a week. I wash it more than once a week, but I have to straighten it so I can keep it under control a little bit better. But the funny thing about this hair is that in the 80s, I could rock big hair like nobody else. Like this hair, I could curl my bangs and tease and spray with Aquanet. And I have the pictures to prove it. I got to show you guys sometime, but it's pretty awesome. So anyway, my girls got my curly hair, but they got that awesome curly hair that they just kind of wash and go. I'm so jealous. And yes, I do know that a diffuser works miracles. I've got to make peace with this curly hair. I just can't handle the differences in textures. It's like straight here, curly here. I don't know what to do with that. So anyway, all right, back to the books. Okay, so disclaimer number 1. All of the books that I'm covering today are nonfiction. Most of them fall into the self-help category. I like self-help and personal development and spirituality books. Those are what I read most often. Don't get me wrong, I love fiction. I love fiction. The problem with fiction is that I usually have to read it on vacation, like get a good beach book or something like that, because I cannot put it down. I have to burn through the whole book. I'll stay up all night if I have to. Seriously, I've stayed up till like 3 in the morning on work nights reading fiction because I just can't put it down. I have a problem with it, and I'm admitting that right now. So I got to stay away from fiction. Otherwise, it just sucks up my entire life. And also, there's this weird thing. I'm a highly sensitive person, which is a real thing. Look it up, an HSP. And I read a book about it by Elaine Aron, if you're interested in this, or you feel like this is something that resonates with you. So I take on like all the emotions from characters in books, especially. It's really weird. Like I can't read anything disturbing or that's going to stick with me. So I have to be really careful about what I read, and I have to be careful about what I consume too, like movies and any kind of media. I don't really read the news much, because if I read a disturbing story, it just sticks with me all day. So yeah, read about highly sensitive personality. It's kind of interesting. I'm really into personality typing and all that kind of stuff too, which I'll talk about later. But anyway, okay, on to the books. Another second disclaimer is that each of the books that I'm going to talk about today kind of illustrates the point that when the teacher, or when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So what might resonate for me might not resonate for you at all. Like you might pick up this book or read the reviews on it and say, I don't get this. This isn't going to be helpful to me. And I get that. Whenever I'm looking for a new book, I usually stumble across it, especially in the personal development area or self-help, because there's a particular issue, something that I'm working on, and this book speaks to me. So just keep that in mind. Some of these may not speak to you and some of them may. I don't know. And I read a lot of business books too. I don't have a business background. I'm learning, honestly, every day as I go. So I have to try to educate myself a lot, but I'm not going to really talk about any of the business books today. We could save that for a different day if you guys are interested. So anyway, I'm going to just dive right into these. So the first book I want to mention on my list, and you guys may have seen this one on Instagram before. This is kind of one that I read whenever I'm trying to hit the reset button in my life. It's called The Rhythm of Life, Living Every Day with Passion and Purpose by Matthew Kelly. And I actually have this book in hard copy because my sister got it for me. Most of my books live right here inside Kindle, which actually makes it so much easier to read. I love that instant gratification, but I still I prefer hard copy books, if I'm being honest, but I have more in my Kindle now just because I can download immediately. Okay, so back to this book. This book, I'm terrible at summarizing what books are about. I'm going to be honest with you. Last night I went online and looked up all these books and read the summaries that other people did, because I'll say to people, oh my gosh, I just read this book. It's so awesome. You guys got to read it. And they'll say, well, what did you like about it? And I'll say, oh, I don't know. It's just really good. You got to read it. I'm terrible at saying what books are about. So I'm just going to try to summarize in one sentence what each of these books means to me. This book for me, I think the biggest aha moment in it was realizing that my purpose in life is to become the best version of myself. And by asking myself the question when I'm making a decision, and just a simple question, that will what you are about to do help you become the best version of yourself? I had to pull it up because that's exactly how he writes it in the book. If the answer is yes, do it without hesitation. And this has helped make so many decisions for me. If at the end of the day, I feel like I've done nothing else and I can look back over my day and think of something that's helped me become a better version of myself, then I feel like I've succeeded in that day. And I just love the simplicity of this message. But this is a really good book. I just like to pick it up sometimes and I'll just flip to any chapter and read through it. And it's just been very inspiring and helpful for me. So this is one of my favorites. Okay, this next one is the very first self-help book that I read. And this book is from 1984. And I have an old version of it, although I didn't read it until probably about 10 years ago whenever I started my own self-help journey. This is You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Louise Hay, and some of this book is really woo-woo and new agey, and if that's not your thing, then you can still read the book and toss all that out. But I really love this book. It was really powerful for me to dig in. I think the biggest messages of this book are self-love and reprogramming. If you've ever struggled with a message of I'm not good enough, this book will really help with that. The mirror exercise that she does in here is one of the most powerful things I've ever done in my life. If I talk about this book for too long, I'll start crying. So anyway, just trust me, if you're starting a self-help journey, this is a great book to start with, but the exercises in it are super powerful and you'll want to work through them slowly and one at a time. But I do highly recommend Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. Okay, so next on my list, this one's a bit of a departure. And it's something I stumbled along. It's been around forever too, but I stumbled across it probably about a year ago. And it's something I'm making my kids read, and it's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah, so this completely, if I had to sum this book up in one sentence, it would be that it taught me that it's not about how much money you make that matters, it's about how much you keep. And I think that in our society, we're taught the wrong messages around our finances and spending and money, and it's about what you bring in, and this book really just turns the paradigm on that. And I think there's not enough financial education being taught in our schools. I firmly believe that, and I've been having to teach my kids because someday I'm going to talk about finances and how Dave Ramsey's I'm just totally drawing a blank on his program that he does. Anyway, I'm sure one of you guys will chime in and tell me, but my husband and I did that probably like, I want to say 10 to 12 years ago. And it was amazing. Like we came from, I want to say like $80,000 in debt, seriously. Within a couple of years, we got completely out of debt and started building our retirement accounts and investing. And this book was just, it teaches a lot of those concepts. So I just really think that this is an awesome book for everybody to read. If you haven't read it yet, it'll change your mind about money in a lot of ways. And I actually want to do a either a coffee chat or maybe something a little bit more robust than that about finances someday, because that's an area that I have gotten a lot of interest in. So, all right, next up on the list is, we're on our fourth book now. Okay, so this is just a recent book that I read, and I talked about this on a podcast that I did recently, and it's The Road Back to You, an Enneagram Journey for Self-Discovery by Ian Morgan Cron and Suzanne Stabile. If you're into personality typing, you'll like this one. It's an introductory book into the Enneagram and how the way that we're created. I'm going to read you a little bit of the summary on this one because I think it really sums it up. It says, ignorance is bliss except in self-awareness. What you don't know about yourself can hurt you and your relationships and even keep you in the shallows with God. Do you want help figuring out who you are and why you're stuck in the same ruts? So yes, this shows you how you get into your ruts. It talks about the great things about your personality type and also the things that you need to watch out for that might trip you up a little bit. So if you've never done any type of personality typing, I highly recommend it. And you can actually go online right now and find your Enneagram type. There's a couple of quizzes out there if you want to do that, if that's something you're interested in. And I don't have a hard copy of that because it lives in Kindle. The next book that I have loved recently, which was a total surprise for me, is also in my Kindle, and that was Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. I did not want to love this book. I'm going to be totally honest because I saw so much buzz around it, and typically for me, there have been a few other books like that that I've seen a lot online and I read them and they just kind of fell flat for me. So I thought this was going to be one of those, but I went ahead and read the reviews on Amazon, which all of these books I'm recommending today, I highly recommend you go read the reviews on Amazon because that's going to tell you whether or not this book is going to resonate for you. So when I read the reviews for Girl Wash Your Face, I was like, this sounds interesting. It's some of the concepts that I've actually been practicing in my own life for the past few years, but so I was intrigued by it. And when I read it, it was just like every chapter I was shaking my head. Yes. There were a few chapters where I was crying and just so totally related with everything that she wrote about, honestly. But most importantly, I think just being and bringing our most real, authentic selves to the table every day is the message that resonated with me most in that book, and being brave and allowing other people to see us and just being vulnerable. So yeah, I really liked that book, and I do recommend that one too if you're looking for something like that. And I have a few other books that I'm reading right now. This one's a devotion book. It's called 100 Days to Brave by Annie F. Downs. Actually, I didn't read it this morning yet, so I'm only on day 7 right now. But I'm liking these little devotions. They're good, and they're helping me to get out of my comfort zone a little bit more and do like live videos and stuff, right? So I don't really have a full review on that one yet, but so far I'm liking it. A book that I used to recommend to my community a lot is this one, The Best Yes by Lisa Turkhurst. I think a lot of you have already read this one. So this is a really good book if you struggle with drawing boundaries around your time and prioritizing what's important to you and feel like you're saying yes to so many things. This helps you. It's just a really good framework for, and it says, are you living with the stress of an overwhelmed schedule and aching with the sadness of an underwhelmed soul? So this really helps you find some more meaning in your day and to say yes to the things that matter most to you. And the last book on my list that I've really enjoyed is Jen Hatmaker's Of Mess and Moxie. This was a fun book. I laughed out loud so many times when I was reading this book. It's wrangling delight out of this wild and glorious life. And I, again, was nodding my head yes the whole time I was reading this book. I love the stories that she told, and there are some real life applications that you can get from this one too. So anyway, those are some of my favorite books. I would love to hear what yours are. I'm always looking for book recommendations. And also, if you have any questions, this was awesome because yesterday I got so many questions about books, and that's something I never really thought about covering. So if you have any questions that come out of today's video, definitely feel free to leave those in the comments or send me a DM on Instagram or whatever and let me know, because I'm happy to address those in future coffee chats. I hope you guys have an awesome day and that your dogs don't poop on your kitchen floor. And thanks for tuning in once again. I will hopefully see you again tomorrow. Bye.